All right, 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM listeners, right here, right now, we have a legendary East Coast artist, man. We got the one and only mentor of Jay-Z and a phenomenal hip hop artist at that. We got the one and only JazO live on the line. How are you doing this evening?
Oh man, I'm great, man. How you?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. I hope everything is all well out there in the States, man, with this whole COVID-19 situation going on. It definitely is taken the whole world by storm the past couple of years.
Yeah, it definitely has, man. But it's a piece of cake, man. You got to work around things, become creative on a business level, and just take precautions. And the most important thing is to stay educated and understand what things are. Don't believe everything you hear, but don't discard everything you hear either.
But also, I want to take you back to the very beginning of your illustrious career within the music industry, and I gotta ask, like, what actually sparked the legendary career of JazO? Like, what made you actually decide to get into music?
Uh, I was always into music. Like my family was deeply involved in music. I had uncles, or I have uncles who play instruments, musical instruments. Did a lot of local stuff. Um, I have an uncle who actually co-wrote a song. What is it called? Love Ballad for LTD. Um, Back when he also was in a group, and they did a few songs. And my parents, they had just a plethora of genres of music in general, and I just tuned into everything. And what happened was, growing up, I listened to so much music, I just adapted to it, and I learned to separate the different instruments within a song. And so, when b-boy or hip hop came along, um, I had a I had a friend who was actually my god brother, named Eric Oliver. He lived in Power Forever. He was like, yo, they be rocking on the mic, they jack the juice from the light post, and the DJs, they do the little block parties. He was like, I bet you can't say a rhyme and, rock the mic and whoop whoop whoop, and it was reverse psychology, but I bit, so I just wrote an 8-bar rhyme. He was, he was excited about it, and so, that really, my head blew up. So that really set it off. And I started writing more rhymes. Other people started hearing it. And I became like, a local favorite. Definitely the favorite in Marcy and then all of Bed-Stuy, then all throughout Brooklyn. And by the time I got to high school, we were learning about a different type of B-boy, as we found out it was being called, uptown. Because I was going to Fiorella H. LaGuardia High School of Music and the Arts when it was on 135th and Convent. So that's what set it off, definitely.
And also, as well, I actually read that you were also known to pioneer the triplet flow. I was wondering, for our listeners that don't know exactly what the triplet flow is, I was wondering if you can break that down for them.
Yeah, so it's simply rhyming in a 24th time signature over 1/16th or 4/4 beat. And I know that a lot of people, most of the beats that you hear or most of the boom backs you hear, that's like a 4/4 time signature. Um, where it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, boom, pat, boom, 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 pat. You know what I'm saying? So it was me, instead of rhyming like in 16s, I was rhyming in 24s. So instead of going, my rhyming and singing technique is a portable living, I was going, my rhyming and singing technique is a portable living and luxury when it's affordable. You know what I'm saying? Over that same time signature. So it was triple the time of wasn't double the time. It was actually triple the time. So it was not numerically, but sound wise and cadence wise. So I called it the triplet style. Simple as that. And yeah, I am the originator of the triplet style.
And also as well, throughout the years, I know as well that tons upon tons of talented, legendary artists as well. I actually use the triplet flow, and I know for a fact Bone Thugs is one of the main ones as well. And I gotta ask, like, how does it feel knowing you pioneered that, of course, but also inspired like a nation of legendary artists from east to west, right down to the south?
Very flattering. Very flattering. Thankful to have pioneered something like that, for the inspiration to come to me or to be in me. And I think that by nature and by happenstance, being in the right environment at the right time, acquiring music knowledge and things of that nature, I was fortunate enough to have something like that. And of course, in my youth, I took it for granted, but as time went on, I realized how inspiring it actually is, and it also inspires like what they do today, which is for the most part like double time and everything else. So it's a great feeling. Though everybody, I know a lot of people who may, to me personally, other of my contemporaries may give me kudos, in person, between us, but when the light is shining on them, I don't hear my name, which is understandable because it's a competitive game, and their mentality is that maybe you don't want to have the light shine on somebody else, because then they feel that it may diminish them, but they don't realize that it actually shows what type of person they are, and it will bring prosperity to them. But yeah, I'm just happy. I'm happy. I love hip hop. I'm always thinking of innovative ways of saying things. I'm definitely a student of poetic license, between puns and metaphor, simile, onomatopoeia, and so on and so forth.
And also in 1986, yourself and Jay-Z actually formed a hip hop duo called High Potent. I was wondering, what's the story behind that duo, and of course, how did yourself and Jay-Z initially get connected?
Well, firstly, the High Potent MCs, there was four of us. So it was myself, Jay-Z, MC Almond Joy, and EZLD. EZLD and Almond Joy were brothers. They were cousins to my DJ at the time, DJ Cool KG. They were from Long Island. So, the way Jay and I met was me coming home from college, and and not to toot my own horn, but I was already a legend in Brooklyn, and so when I came back, I had a main advocate. Well, a lot of people thought we were cousins or brothers. They called him Nike. Nike of the infamous Shirt Kings. I don't know if you're familiar with the Shirt Kings.
I've heard of them, yes.
Are you? Yeah, well, Shirt Kings, like when you saw all the acrylic paintings of the sweatshirts and all of the artists, the A-list hip-hop artists from LL to Rakim, with the Mickey Mouse character with the big gold chain and the Mercedes Benz behind it on the sweatshirt, painted in airbrush and acrylic. That was the Shirt Kings. They revolutionized that. So anyway, Nike actually lived around the same way or in the same building that Jay-Z lived in. And so there was a conversation going on because they were talking about Jay-Z before his name was actually Jay-Z. They were talking about it like, yo, this guy, like, this dude got to be the best in Marcy. And Mike stood up and was like, nah, man. He was like, nah, I heard Jazz just got back home from school, and there's nobody better than Jazz. So they set up the meeting on my side of the projects, and it was supposed to be a battle. But, you know, I could tell by his demeanor that he didn't really want to battle. And, you know, though I've been in many battles, I wasn't really the type of dude, you know, I wasn't the aggressor per se. But if somebody came for me, you know what I'm saying, I let them have it. But, so they were like, so what's up? So, you know, I was like, I don't know, I don't care. You know, so they was like, well, somebody rhyme. So I was like, all right, I'll rhyme first. So I kicked the rhyme, you know, and they was loving it. And, you know, Jay kicked the rhyme, and they was loving it. And I was inspired because he was the first person I ever heard that was younger than me, that reminded me as far as cadence and vocal projection like myself. So I was like, yeah, this is somebody I definitely want to vibe with. So that's where it began. He felt the same way. So if you hear all the stories about, or like in the books, where he talks about, you know, banging on the kitchen table with the Haagen-Dazs ice cream and the Fruit Loops and Apple Jacks, that was us, high on sugar, going back and forth, beating on the table, he'll rhyme, and I beat on the table, and, you know, I'll beat on the table, he'll rhyme, then he'll beat on the table, and I'll rhyme, we just pass it back and forth, you know, and that's where it began.
And I gotta ask, man, when you actually first heard Jay-Z like bust a freestyle, did you actually sit back and be like, damn, did you think he was actually gonna be as big as he is today when you first actually started mentoring him?
No, I mean, but neither one of us thought that hip hop in itself would become as large and popular as it is. But I definitely knew that if anybody, you know, of course I thought the same of myself, but if anybody could pull it off, you know, it would be one of us. And for years, though, it hasn't probably been well documented, but for years throughout Brooklyn, you know, we were acknowledged as, you know, the best MCs, period, point blank. You know, DJ Clark Kent, you know, used to call us God and Jesus Christ. You know, he called me God, he called Jay-Z Jesus Christ. That's how good we were, and we just vibed together, like we fed off each other. We used to come out, you know, to the, when they had the music out, we used to come out with the little, I don't know how far back you may go, but it was a drum machine called the DDM 110. So it could almost fit in your pocket. And so we used to come out with that, and we would pre-program some beats, or we would just play it live, and we came out and we would, you know, we would get a jack and connect the beatbox, and, you know, he'll play a beat on the beatbox, and then I'll go at it, start rhyming, and then he'll pass me the beatbox, you know, a little drop, like a little space, and he'll pass it to me real quick and pass the mic at the same time, and then I'll be at it, making the beat, right, you know, live, and he'll rhyme, and we used to kill it. It was like, it was magic. It was magic.
And also, jumping ahead to the early 90s, I also read as well that you actually produced a demo tape for the Lox that ultimately landed them their deal with Bad Boy Records. I have to ask you, what's the story behind that demo tape? And of course, how did you actually get connected with the Lox initially?
Well, firstly, it was my production. We weren't a team as producers. Like, I'm a producer. So I produced, what happened was, I had just recently moved back to Brooklyn from Atlanta, Georgia, and I had taken a hiatus from the music, and so when I got back, that was all I wanted to do was do some music. It wasn't even about the money. It's just I got to do music. It's like me breathing. Like I can't breathe. I got to do music. So I had a long-standing relationship with the owners of D&D Studios, and so I reached out to them, and I started working out in a room that they had. They were developing called the C Room, which was basically like a production room, a MIDI room. So I started just knocking out beats from there, writing, so on and so forth. So one night I was in there, and somebody knocked on the door. They was like, "Yo, can I come in?" I was like, "Come on in." So they was like, "Yo, whose beat is that?" First he's like, "Who made that beat?" Because they knew who I was. It turned out actually to be D from Rough Riders, and he was like, "Who made that beat?" I was like, "I did." He was like, "Word?" Because they knew me, of course, as a rap artist and MC, and so he's like, "Who's it for?" I was like, "Man, I'm just sitting here banging out." So he was like, "Word?" He's like, "Yo, what if I bring some of my artists in here and let them hear? You mind if they come in and spit some lyrics over it?" I was like, "Bring them through." So the artist that he actually brought in, it was Styles and Sheik Loops. So they came in there, they both rhymed on it, and they were digging the beat. I was liking how they were sounding. D was loving it. So he's like, "I got one more cat. He's supposed to be coming downtown from Yonkers. And he should be here in a half hour." So I was like, "I'm gonna be here." So that other person is Jada Kiss. So Jada Kiss came in there, he rhymed on it, and there's a sad ending to this story. Is that we in that same beat, and some of the rhymes they said ended up being the song that we did together. One of the songs we did called "For My Niggas," and I can't find that song to save my life. I think it may be somewhere. It might be at a storage I have in Brooklyn on a 2-inch reel. But if it's not there, I don't know where it is. But we did that, about 4 other songs, and that's what began the relationship.
And I gotta say, hopefully as well, like, that song is actually in your storage out there in Brooklyn. I hope it is, because I gotta say, the world most definitely will enjoy that song right there.
Mm-hmm. And everybody who heard it loved it. Everybody who heard it loved it. And actually, one of the songs that we did, it was originally a freestyle beat for Styles P, and Puff had heard it, and what happened was Puff wanted it on his album. So what he did, he put the rest of the locks on. He put Jada and Sheik on it, and Puff did the hook, and it ended up being on the No Way Out LP. The name of the song is "I Got the Power," produced by me.
And also as well, in 1995, I also read that you actually produced for Group Home's Living Proof record on the song "Forgive My Sins." I was wondering, what was it like being in the studio and just working with Group Home? Because I gotta say, they were a phenomenal group that unfortunately they don't get enough credit, in my personal opinion, for their music they did actually put out.
Right. Well, again, I have a long-standing relationship with the owners of D&D Studios, so that was basically my workplace. And in the in the midst of me, going in the C room and banging out beats, somebody else came in there, and it happened to be DJ Premier, who I've known DJ Premier since, since like 1989. I met Premier in Google. So, so Premier came in there. He was listening to a particular beat, which ended up being the same exact beat for Forget My Sins. And he says, like, almost the same thing, like they were reading from the script. Like, yo, who's that for? And I was like, man, I'm just banging out. The only difference was I was actually banging out beats at this point in the A room, because somebody had booked the C room. So I was actually in the A room banging that out. And he was like, yo, he was like, we need to talk about that. He's like, I got this group, and so on and so forth. And that's perfect for them. And yeah, it was magic.
And also, as well, jumping into the 2000s, one of my personal favorite studio albums by you is actually Kings County, man. And I've always wanted to know, what's the story behind that amazing record? Because that's one of the records I listened to growing up, and I probably wore out a few copies of that personally myself.
Yeah, thank you. That's very much appreciated. So the guys who became a Mobilare were originally a group called The Council. I produced a song for them called We're on Top of Things that was, a New York banger. And so we went on from there, and we got the attention of some people at Universal. And then we got some attention from somebody at Next Plateau. So by the time that came, we had an investor who, wanted to, he just said, his name is Mike Moskowitz, and he said, while we going through, the rigmarole, all of these different entities, and he said he had the means financially to put it out himself. So he was like, Jazz, you know everything about this. What do you need? So I told him what I needed to pull it off, and we went in the studio. And originally, Moskowitz actually wanted to distribute an album with me solo and just have these guys feature. But I didn't feel that it was right because of the fact that I actually met Mike Moskowitz through these guys. So, I didn't think it was right for me to just jump in, even though hindsight, it would have been more profitable for everybody for me to do a solo album and just have them feature on a couple of joints. So that was that. But the magic was there. We had Young Phil, who was a producer on the Mobilare compilation. Most of those guys have disbanded. Of course, what is that, like 19 years ago? But it was a great experience amidst the fact that I was going through not getting a lot of sleep, stressful, personal family situations. But I was like, look, this is what I do, and it actually became therapy for me. So it's definitely exciting. It's definitely a classic. I love so many songs on there. And there are actually some songs on there I actually don't like, But that's me being being a fair guy, sometimes it's not good in business to be that way. But I think all in all, it's a great compilation, and it bangs out. Like, I still hear it, not just in venues here and there, but it's attached to a lot of my new music. So, I tend to hear it, even outside, like somebody banging it out of their cars or what happens when you go to Brooklyn.
And I still got to say, my favorite track off that record is the one you did with M.O.P. Pledge Alliance. Pledge Alliance. My apologies.
Mm-hmm.
One of my absolute favorite joints. You guys had such phenomenal chemistry as well. I believe DiBiase was featured on that track as well.
Yeah, and originally Razcast was on that song. I don't know what happened, but I have a great relationship with the guys, being Billy Dance and Faye and Lays, who I don't know if he still manages their situation, but Lays has been an integral part of their careers for so long. I mean, actually from the beginning. So so when I told them what I wanted to do, they had no problem. And also due to the fact that I don't know what happened as far as the Razcast situation, but I have a great relationship with Raz as well. Having produced a song for him in the past, and just as MCs, the mutual respect. So yeah, it was great. And that's a great song. It'll definitely run your blood pressure up.
I most definitely agree on that one. It's definitely a pump me up type joint. But also, jumping ahead here to last year, February 7th, you actually released one of your most newest projects called The Warm-Up. I was wondering if you can tell our listeners a bit more about your newest project, and of course, where can we actually snag ourselves a copy of that particular record today?
Oh, most definitely. So The Warm-Up is a title that I actually had for maybe like 12, 13 years, that I had planned to do it as a mixtape, if you will. And I just held on to the title. And then when I decided to actually use the title, somebody was telling me, well, someone else had used that title for an LP. And so I was like, well, people do it all the time, and no disrespect to anybody, but I'm gonna use the title. So The Warm-Up is exactly what it is, and for most people who think that somebody's last work is their best work, like my best work is always yet to come. So I aptly named it The Warm-Up because as excellent as I think the EP is, I already have in the magazine, the slugs that not necessarily is going to supersede that, but it's going to definitely add to the whole, flavor, if you will, of who I am and what I do. And people will understand that I'm constantly expanding, and there's no limit to the skill level. There's no limit to the creativity, and I just keep going. So, and I actually, and I tell this story. I have no shame about it. I actually got a little down on a couple of the songs that I selected for The Warm-Up, and it was because I didn't have you know how you do, you envision something, and when you hear it, it doesn't actually sound the way you imagine it should sound. So I had to reach out, and I found an engineer who could get the job done, and I'm so very happy because sonically, I love it. He took the time. He listened to me. Is one of my bros. His name is Matt Cody, and he mixed practically every song on the EP, and I'm so happy with it sonically, and it just feels right, and it feels like and sounds like what I imagined it should sound like, and there's no better feeling than that.
And I gotta say as well, you know, like they always say, everyone is their own worst critic. But I gotta say, I'm glad you got those songs right to the way. I'm glad you got those songs up to par to your own liking, man. That way you can share it with the world. And I gotta say, the warm up is a phenomenal record. And anybody that is listening, whether it's live or on demand, I really do encourage you all to snag a copy of this record because it is absolutely phenomenal. You ain't gonna find real hip hop like this nowadays, man. So JazO definitely brought you real rugged raw hip hop with the warm up.
Thank you, and available on all major platforms, streaming and download. Um, you can check on Apple Music and on YouTube for the video for the single Marcy. Um, I got more visuals coming up. Um, I don't want to let the cat out the bag per se about the next single. I want it to hit, and the way it's gonna hit. Well, I might as well, right? You heard it here first. It's JazO featuring Nipsey Hussle, and the song is called "Looking Like." It's gonna be the remastered version of "Looking Like," and we're set to shoot that video in a week.
And I gotta say, that is absolutely phenomenal. I appreciate you for giving us the exclusive first. And I just gotta say, you know, that's a phenomenal collaboration, man. You have the best of the West and the best of the East. I have to ask you, did you happen to be in the studio with Nipsey before he passed away, or was it one of the you kind of connected with each other on the internet and just kind of like swap files back and forth?
Well, somebody who worked with him actually submitted the track to me, but I had met excuse me, but I had met Nipsey in Atlanta, and we we connected. Man, clear my throat, sorry. But we connected on a level, you know, though we didn't sit down and have, you know, long, extended conversation, but and I can't remember the studio we were in, but it was a studio near downtown Atlanta, and it had nothing to do, of course, with what happened in the future, but I received the beat, and when I heard his voice, I was like, I got to do it for so many reasons. For one, to extend, you know, in his, you know, in his memory. Two, because I felt an automatic brotherly connection with him because one of my sons is actually Eritrean. So, so the connection on that level, and then where he was consciously, and you know his business exploits, and you know his community connection, you know those things, you know that looking at a younger brother, you know it inspires. You know when you think that all is for naught and that things are not as fruitful as they may seem, you know, you got a diamond in the rough, and it comes out, you know, with, you know, guns ablaze, and you cheer for him, and then to see him go down like that was so very sad. But hopefully, you know, people can ride out on the things that he stood for, and how he lived his life and how he laid it down and his whole demeanor, you know, about hip hop, about our community. And when I say community, I'm not talking about the black community. I'm talking about the world community, because he was an international guy. So I felt it only right. Like when I heard his voice on the hook, I was like, nah, this is a go. Notwithstanding that the beat is crazy to me. When I heard it, I was like, yo, this just sounds like me standing on top of Mount Everest or something, you know. So, so I was automatically, inspired to knock that out.
And I gotta say, it most definitely sounds like a phenomenal project. So everybody that's listening, make sure you stay on lock for that because it's coming in hot.
Definitely, definitely.
But I gotta ask you, JazO, other than like your most previous record, the Warm Up and the Nipsey Hussle collaboration, what is next for you? Is there anything else I missed during this interview? Anything else you still want to talk about or promote? What we stuff you here live on the Canadian airwaves?
Yeah, definitely. I'm in the process of completing a short book, one volume of which is going to be 7, and it's called Universes: The Literary Science of JazO, and it's basically comprised of, of course, a foreword, an introduction for people who may not know many of my creative exploits, and then it goes into the highlight of the volume is to highlight my trademark verses. So the first one is going to be from I don't know if you're, well, I'm gonna just say Jigga What Jigga Who, and I give the backstory on how all of that was put together, me going into the studio, who was there, some of the things that happened, that sometimes how we tend to take certain things for granted, but when we look back, we realize how special those moments are. But of course, they're only special in memory. When it's going down, you don't really see it. But also, what in the purpose of having the verse highlighted is because it's to teach, like, a lot of MCs and a lot of hip hop listeners. When they hear like a metaphor or they hear simile, or they hear onomatopoeia, they'll recognize it, but they don't recognize it by turn. You get what I'm saying? So basically, I have a list of different usages of poetic license, and what I'm going to do, or what's being done, is when something comes up and that type of poetic license is being utilized, I highlight it in a certain way so that people can understand. Okay, that's a pun, of course. That's onomatopoeia. That's a double entendre. That's a triple entendre. And so that people get to understand it. And my aim is to actually target college curriculum, because it's becoming a very popular curriculum. Hip hop history, MCing, all the different aspects of what we knew originally as b-boy, which became hip hop. So the aim is to really target that, to educate people on what it's all about. That it's not just a bunch of guys just saying a bunch of jumbled words and coming upon something witty by accident. There's a purpose, and there's structure, amidst the chaos. There's order amidst the chaos. One can't exist without the other. So they're going to be 7 volumes, and that's going to be the first one. That's going to be available on all digital, digital reader platforms. I'm definitely going to do what's known as an NFT for a limited amount of physical hard copies. And then also, as far as my social media, I can be found on Instagram, JazO KKMG, JazO KKMG, Facebook, JazO, JazO, also Jonathan JazO Burks, Twitter, The Real JazO, and also you can go to the website, KingsCountyMediaGroup.com, and also I have a beat bundle that the information is on the website, where I'm actually selling a 6-month right of usage of 11 beats that I created untagged for $200, and you can use it any way you want for of course, non-commercial. You can't make money off of it, but for promotional use. But if you choose to select an individual beat as first come, first served, and I charge an additional $150. You get exclusive usage of that particular beat. So it's called the KKMG beat bundle. So I have that going on, and a few other things going on, but that's sort of at the top of the list. And also, we're doing a remastered version of the single Looking Like, and moving on from there.
And I gotta say as well, it sounds like a phenomenal year for you, man. You got a lot of amazing stuff going on, and I just gotta say that beat bundle sounds absolutely phenomenal for that price. That's a steal right there.
Yeah, definitely, and a lot of people have taken advantage, and I'm glad. And I think that I've given away beats and given away verses, throughout my career, and I just feel like the serious business person who is also creative, I think it's a sign of respect to at least charge something, because sometimes when you just give it away, it's not really taken as serious, So, and that's the only reason I charge even that much for that. Because, that's really like you said, it's a steal.
If you really think about it, it's $1 a beat. So at the end of the day, it most definitely is a steal, especially coming from such a legendary hip-hop pioneer like yourself. Like $1 a beat, like you really can't go wrong.
Yeah. So, well, technically, 11 beats is a little under,
but
it's, for 200, it's like a little under $2 a beat.
But I gotta say though, JazO, I want to say I appreciate you for coming on the radio. Oh, sorry about that, JazO. My apologies.
That's cool. It's cool.
Oh, I just wanted to say first and foremost, before we part ways here, I just got to say thank you so much for just sliding into the radio station airwaves and giving us a little bit of your time this evening. Like, I grew up on your music. Your music most definitely made a positive impact, not only on individuals like myself, but millions upon millions of individuals worldwide. So thank you for years of amazing hip-hop and just helping to give birth to so many amazing, legendary projects.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your time. Thanks for having me on your program. And, I'm continuing on. And let's stay in touch. Any new exploits, I'll keep you informed.
Most definitely. And anything you need radio-wise as well, most definitely stay in touch. You let me know what you need, and I'll definitely make that possible for you.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
Most definitely. Thank you so much, JazO, and most definitely have yourself a wonderful night out there in New York.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a little bit outside of New York. Everything's great. And just keeping everything going. Thanks for your time.
You are most certainly welcome, and thank you for your time as well, JazO.